Hello everyone, and welcome back to the class. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most important parts of the IELTS exam, listening. If you are struggling with IELTS listening, this lesson is especially for you. And I want you to stay with me until the end because I am going to give you a practical 30-day routine. This is not a magic trick that will give you Band 9 overnight. Instead, this is a structured routine that can help you improve your listening skills step by step. If you follow this routine consistently for 30 days, you can realistically expect noticeable improvement. However, your final score will depend on your current level, your daily practice, your mistakes, and how seriously you follow the routine. So, before we talk about the routine, let us understand what IELTS listening actually tests. IELTS listening is not simply a test of how well you understand English. It also tests how well you can listen for specific information, recognize paraphrases, follow a conversation, predict answers, and avoid distractions. This is extremely important. Many students think that they need to understand every single word in the recording. That is a mistake. You do not need to understand every word to get a high score in IELTS listening. You need to understand the information that matters for the question. For example, imagine that the recording says, the meeting was originally scheduled for Monday, but it has been moved to Wednesday. If the question asks for the day of the meeting, you should not write Monday. Monday was mentioned first, but Wednesday is the final answer. This is exactly the kind of trap that IELTS listening often creates. So, your goal is not simply to hear words. Your goal is to understand the meaning, identify the important information, and select the correct answer. Now, let us talk about your target score. If you are currently around Band 5, you should not put unnecessary pressure on yourself by expecting Band 9 in 30 days. Your first goal should be to move from your current level to the next realistic level. For example, a student around Band the 5th of May aim for Band 6 or 6.5 first. A student around Band the 6th of May aim for Band 7. And a student already around Band the 7th of May work toward Band 7.5, 8, or higher. The key word here is realistic. Do not compare your Day 1 score with someone else's final score. Instead, compare your performance today with your performance 7 days ago. That is how you will see real progress. Now, let me ask you a very important question. What is the biggest problem you face when you listen to IELTS recordings? Is it vocabulary? Is it speed? Is it pronunciation? Do you lose concentration? Do you miss the answer when the speaker changes the information? Or perhaps you understand the recording, but you still make many spelling mistakes. You need to identify your specific problem before you can fix it. This is why I do not want you to start your 30-day routine randomly. Day 1 is going to be a diagnostic day. On Day 1, you will take a complete IELTS listening practice test under real test conditions. Do not pause the recording. Do not replay any section. Do not check the answers while listening. And do not use a dictionary. You need to know your real starting point. After finishing the test, check your answers carefully. But do not stop there. This is where many students make a serious mistake. They see that they got 25 correct answers, they see their estimated band score, and then they move on. That is not enough. Your score tells you how many questions you got right. Your mistakes tell you why you lost marks. And the second piece of information is much more valuable. So, after your first test, create a mistake notebook. You can use a physical notebook or a digital document. For every wrong answer, write down the question number and the reason for your mistake. For example, write, I did not hear the word. Or write, I heard it, but I did not understand it. You can also write, I understood it, but I chose the wrong answer. Another possibility is, I knew the answer, but my spelling was wrong. You may also write, I lost concentration. This simple classification will completely change the way you practice. Why? Because different problems require different solutions. If your problem is vocabulary, you need vocabulary training. If your problem is spelling, you need spelling practice. If your problem is concentration, you need focused listening practice. If your problem is paraphrasing, you need to train yourself to recognize different ways of expressing the same idea. Let us look at a simple example. Suppose the question says, the course begins in September. But the recording says, the course will commence in September. The meaning is essentially the same. The words are different, but the idea is the same. This is paraphrasing. IELTS listening uses paraphrasing constantly. Therefore, one of your most important skills during this 30-day program will be recognizing paraphrases. Now let us talk about your daily study time. You do not necessarily need to study IELTS listening for 4 or 5 hours every day. In fact, for many students, that would be difficult to maintain consistently. Consistency is more important than studying for a huge number of hours once or twice. For this 30-day plan, I recommend approximately 1 to 2 focused hours of listening-related practice per day, depending on your level and available time. But remember one important thing. Not all of that time should be spent doing full tests. This is one of the biggest mistakes IELTS students make. They take test after test after test, but their score does not improve. Why? Because they are measuring their weakness instead of fixing it. Imagine that you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you that you have a problem. If you visit the doctor every day but never follow the treatment, will the problem disappear? Of course not. IELTS listening works in a similar way. A practice test is a diagnostic tool. Your real improvement comes from analyzing the test and training your weaknesses. So, here is the first principle of our 30-day routine. Test less, analyze more, and practice intelligently. Let me repeat that because it is extremely important. Test less, analyze more, and practice intelligently. Now, another important question is this: should you listen to English casually throughout the day? Yes, but casual listening alone is not enough. You can listen to English podcasts, interviews, news, documentaries, or conversations. This can improve your general exposure to English. However, IELTS listening requires focus practice as well. During focus practice, you listen with a specific purpose. You may listen for a name, a number, a date, a location, a reason, an opinion, or a change in information. This teaches your brain what to look for while listening. And that is exactly what we want. We want your brain to become active while listening instead of simply hearing sounds. So, from tomorrow, you are not going to say, I listened to English for 1 hour. You are going to say, I trained my listening skill for 1 hour. There is a big difference between the two. One is passive exposure. The other is active training. And if your goal is to improve your IELTS listening score within 30 days, you need active training. In the next part of this lesson, I will show you exactly what you should do during week 1. We will talk about prediction, keywords, spelling, numbers, names, dates, and the most important skill of all, understanding paraphrases. I will also give you a daily routine that you can follow without feeling overwhelmed. So, do not skip the next part. Because the first 7 days will build the foundation for the remaining 3 weeks. And remember one final thing before we move forward. Your goal is not to become perfect in 30 days. Your goal is to become better every single day. If you make 10 mistakes today and only make 7 mistakes next week, that is progress. If you understand a recording today that you could not understand 7 days ago, that is progress. And if your practice test score gradually increases, you are moving in the right direction. Stay consistent, stay patient, and trust the process.